listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
It's another Wasabi hot take. I love doing these every single week, dropping on Thursdays. Thank you, Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thank you, Wasabi Technologies, for being the impetus, being the idea, giving us the idea, being the driving force behind this opportunity for me to sit down and just rant about something. I've actually enjoyed it. I think this is the fourth time that we've done this, and I've actually enjoyed it a lot. You gotta, sometimes you have to just push yourself to say, take a breath and just talk about something that's important to you. I talked about last week about the weirdness of measuring bat speed and how we're obsessed over it. I've talked about the challenges of rookies, of young players coming up more than ever now. I've talked about a few different things. And so today, I was thinking about, could I take a deep dive into stats? Could I take a deep dive into what's going on in baseball? There's plenty of time for that. We could have talked about the All-Star voting or the draft or whatever you want. Whatever's going on in baseball. But what's going on in sports right now is the beginning of the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. So it made me think about a conversation and a question which I've asked a lot of guys on the podcast. And that's basically, is baseball the best sporting event to go to as a fan? And if baseball is not the best sporting event to go to as a fan, then what is the best sporting event to go to a fan? This conversation really began with the interview that our founding father, Joe Kelly, did for the award-winning book, A Damn Near Perfect Game. Go to Amazon, go check out A Damn Near Perfect Game, co-authored by Joe Kelly and myself. So in chapter 7, he sits down with Rob Manfred, Commissioner Rob Manfred. The two of them, two guys talking about the great game of baseball. Well, one of the things that they were talking about, or got to, was, getting people to understand how great this is in terms of consuming it, right? So there's the conversation and the debate about television and streaming and the challenges that baseball, and as Manfred said, they're behind the curve when it comes to these other sports. But on page 135, I want to read to you what Manfred says to Joe in their conversation. Manfred says, "I would say this, and the commissioners of the other sports wouldn't say this out loud, but probably realize it. Our live product is the best in sports, I believe. I really do. That's the upside for us." I don't disagree with him. I don't. It got me thinking, and it allowed me to ask some guys, some podcast participants, this very question. Is baseball the best sporting event to go to? One of the guys I asked was Tristan McKenzie of the Cleveland Guardians, and after my little rant, my little take here, I am going to play you what Tristan and I talked about when it came to this subject, because I thought he was really, really good and gave a good perspective. And one of the things we talked about was basketball versus baseball, because I do think that really the only thing that challenges baseball is being courtside or close to courtside for an NBA game. Now, you want to do that, you better pay the piper. Right now, for NBA Finals, seat under the hoop, $25,000. $25,000. And during the regular season, you want to sit courtside, it's a lot of money. It's more money, it's crazy money. But you're paying for the privilege to really maybe have one of the best experiences you can have as a fan when it comes to a sporting event, because, I will say this, because you're so close to such an unbelievable level of athleticism. You're so close to it. In baseball, I'm going to get to baseball in a second, but you are a distance. Something happens at second base, you're a distance away. Something happens at home plate, you're a distance away. Someone hits a home run, you're a distance away, and then you're 400 feet beyond that. Or maybe the ball's coming to you. I don't know. But when you're courtside for an NBA game, it is an experience which I can't argue with. But how many people have that opportunity, have that experience? That is an outlier. So what we're talking about is when you're saying, I want to go to a sporting event on a consistent basis, what is the best thing to do? And I'm going to say it's baseball. It just is. There's a lot of reasons for it. One is because when you walk in, this isn't the main reason, but this is one of the reasons. And Charlie Morton, who was on the podcast today as we taped this, said this, and other people have revisited. When you walk into a major league ballpark for the first time, it is something like you can't experience in any arena or any stadium, for football stadium. You walk into a Major League Baseball ballpark for the first time, or really any time, and everything opens up. It's this world, and the greens are never greener, and the whites are never whiter, and it just seems, especially, again, when you're doing it for the first time as a kid, this is what people remember. And I think that to this day, when you do it, if you actually took a breath and you have these tickets to this game, that's part of the experience. When you walk in, you have the tickets, you're excited, you get to the game, and boom, there it is. A very majestic, this is where all of it's going to happen. Then you have the experience of let's be honest, autographs, fan interaction. It's better in baseball. It's better in baseball than any other sport. And we talked about Brett Phillips' plan to grow the game by 50% if every player just signed autographs for 10 minutes every day. I can't argue with that. And I think players are understanding that more and more and more. So you have that opportunity that you simply don't have in hockey, you don't have in football, and you have maybe a little bit in basketball, but not very much. So you have that interaction. Then you have the other part of it during the game, something very small, which is a baseball's flying in the stands, you get to keep it, right? Yay. That's, if you keep a hockey puck, but it's going to dent in your face. So you have that. You're not keeping a basketball, you're keeping a football usually. So those are the minor things. Really the major things when it comes to how I'm basing my argument when it comes to why baseball is the best sporting event to go to is because when you go to a baseball game, you sit down, you go usually with somebody else, you have a conversation. You have a conversation about the day, you have a conversation whatever is going on, then the game starts. And the game, especially now, where there's a little bit more urgency in the game, we're not going to call it speed, we'll call it urgency in the game, then something happens, you talk about whatever happened, and that can be a pitch, that can be an out, that can be a hit, that can be an inning, whatever it is. But you talk about it. And you don't have to immediately sit down and basically be on call and have your eyes facing forward, boom, 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 and just have to relate and wait till halftime to talk about anything that happened. No. Every single time you go to a game, you can have this conversation, and then you eat, you have the hot dog with Fruit Loops on it, you talk about that. It's just the opportunity to actually have an experience, a social experience, while having also the opportunity to witness some of the greatest athleticism you ever see. And the cheering and the booing and all of that. So you have all of that. It's all wrapped up in the package that is baseball, going to a baseball game. And you just can't do that at these other sports. You can't. When you sit down in that seat, you're expected to pay attention and forget about the conversation. Oh my goodness. If someone makes a great shot in basketball game, well, you can't sit there and dissect the shot for 2 minutes because you're on to the next shot. Maybe after you can, but not during. And you're certainly aren't going to talk about your day. You aren't going to talk what's going on in your life. You aren't going to talk about, anything else, because if you do, you're going to miss what's in front of you. And what's in front of you isn't always going to be a payoff, but you have to talk about, you have to watch. So I think that is the biggest thing in baseball. That is and now when you have the product improved in baseball, when you have the pitch clock, when you have the sense of urgency, it absolutely is, I don't think a question about it, that is the best sporting event to go to. You're also clocking in the same amount of time. I mean, it's 2.5 hours. Everything, baseball was killing to equalize the time of games for the hockey, for basketball, which is about 2.5 hours. And now they have it. So it's all coming together. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't mind. But I'm just going to tell you, when I'm thinking about paying that $25,000, baseball isn't boring money, to sit underneath the hoop courtside for the NBA Finals tonight, maybe I'll think twice and say, maybe I'll spread that out over some baseball games.